Mr. Connors, you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, welcome to WPFW, man. It's really exciting that you're coming to Keystone Corner up in Baltimore and bringing all your beautiful music with you. It's really a thrill for me to be able to talk with you since I've been on the air since you first came on the scene, actually working as a sideman with Pharoah Sanders and others, and then You Are My Starship and other hits of the 70s was played on WAMU when I was broadcasting there, so I have a long history with your music.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So, but for folks, who may not be hip to you, tell us a little bit about how you got started. You're, growing up in Philly and how you got connected to this music.
Yeah, I grew up in the Richard Allen Home Projects, and I lived 4 blocks away from Bill Cosby. No, 4 doors away, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
4 doors away. And when I was coming up, do you hear some noise?
No, that's from your end. We got you loud and clear here in Washington, brother. You're really coming across well.
Okay. Anyway, I live right across the street from a bass player by the name of Spanky DeBrest.
Oh, yes. Oh, wow.
Remember him?
Okay, yeah, I have. Absolutely.
And around the corner was a drummer by the name of Lex Humphreys.
Boy.
And who used to make these rehearsals every day across the street from where I lived was Lee Morgan and McCoy Tyner.
Oh, my goodness.
And
Boy.
That's how I grew up. I was like 7. They were teenagers. I was about maybe 7 or 8 years old.
Wow, boy, really just incredible in terms of the folks that were around you.
Yeah, and that was the beginning. And then I used to take my drum lessons and piano lessons on Saturdays, and my mother would take me to a theater called the Earl Theater in Philly. And at the Earl Theater, you see a Tarzan movie, Johnny Weissmuller, and after that, the stage gets black, and out comes on a Saturday matinee is Duke Ellington and his big band with a singer at the end. The next Saturday would be Count Basie with a singer at the end. The next Saturday would be Lionel Hampton and his big band. Next Saturday would be Cab Calloway. Maybe the next Saturday it would be Billy Eckstein and his big band. And that's the kind of talent they had. Oh, wow. I even seen Sammy Davis Jr. and his father and uncle, the Romancing Trio.
Jeez, wow, that's really hitting it early. That's incredible.
So that was during my, 7, 8, 9, 10, and at the same time I was taking tap lessons, and Lola Falana was in our class.
Wow.
So that's how I came up.
So what got you started professionally? How did you shift gears from growing up in the midst of all of this to really getting your career started?
I was working with Billy Paul when I was 15. We did some road trips and things like that, and he was an excellent singer. And there was a trio I was involved with, an organ trio called Randolph, Stiles, and Connors. The organ player's name was Luther Randolph. The guitar player and violinist, his name was Johnny Stiles, and Norman Connors on drums.
Wow.
And we played Count Basie's in New York. We played at all kinds of venues in the Midwest and things like that. And so, I was around 16. And also, train came to Philly with Pharoah, and Elvin Jones went to jail or something like that.
Okay. Wow.
And the people at the club called me because I used to go to all the different matinees and sit in with everybody. I got a chance to sit in with Roland Kirk and Cannonball and Max Roach let me sit in. That's where I met Gary Bartz when I was 14, and Max let me sit in when I was about 15, and I got a chance to play with Train when I was 16, and then I moved to New York.
Wow, what an incredible start! That's just amazing. The musicians that have been a part of this history of this music, and for me, we're about the same age. So I was blessed to see these artists perform, and actually get to know McCoy Tyner over the years, and Max Roach and folks like that. I've really been blessed to play their music and your music, and again, it's been a while, but you shifted gears from playing with people like Sam Rivers and Pharoah to becoming R&B, soul, rhythm and blues, disco, all of it. How'd that come about?
Okay. So when I first moved to New York, Archie Shepp called me for a album date. He was on the same label as Pharoah and Train.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of the album was called The Magic of Juju.
Magic of Juju, right.
So that was my first record date. That was wonderful. I got a chance to play with Train again 2 nights at the Village Vanguard with McCoy and Jimmy Garrison and myself and Train.
Mm-hmm.
That's the second time I got a chance to play with Train. And I met Pharoah when I played with them in Philly. And I guess he loved me, and Archie Shepp liked me, and Train liked me, but Train never said anything.
Okay.
He don't talk.
Sure,
All he do is play.
I know, boy. I saw him play at the Bohemian Caverns, and he looked so serious as he walked by after the set was over. I was really, scared to say anything, and McCoy told me years later, he laughed. He said, "Yeah, John would have loved to talk to you, but not about sports."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was always so serious.
Boy.
Yeah, but so that's how I got started. When I moved to New York, I got a chance to. I went on the road with Jack McDuff, and in that band, of course, he had George Benson, and George Benson was leaving.
Right. Wow.
So I got in. So we went on the road, went all through the Midwest and West Coast, and we went everywhere. So that was the start. And I got a chance to play with Lou Donaldson. I used to live right across the street from him in the Bronx. And Eddie Henderson lived across the street, too. So on Gun Hill Road in the Bronx.
Mm.
And I got a chance to play with Larry Young and Jimmy McGriff. And, so I was in that Oregon thing. And I would go downtown, and I was playing with Jack McLean's son. And then Jackie called me to play with him. And we went on the road and did some things. And there was some great people in that band.
Absolutely.
It was Benny Maupin. It was Scotty Holt on bass. And who's your favorite vibe player?
Boy, there's so many of them, ranging from...
Who's your favorite?
Milt Jackson, I guess, my favorite. But you got Roy Ayers, you got Lionel Hampton, you got, who else?
More progressive.
Right.
West Coast. Bobby Hutcherson.
Bobby Hutcherson, of course. Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
he was in the band. He was in the band.
Bobby Hutcherson.
We had a great band.
Yeah,
man.
Absolutely. Gosh.
So I got a chance to play with Jackie.
Wow.
We called him Jackie Mac in those days.
Mm-mm-mm.
Then I got a chance to play with Sun Ra for about 8 months. And Sam Rivers.
Boy.
And I recorded about 3 or 4 records with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
We won an award in France. Just me, him, and Susan McBee. So that was my life. And then Pharoah called me during the time when he recorded The Creator Has a Master Plan.
Wow, yes, indeed.
He was gigantic at that time.
Boy, he sure was. Well, he still is, really, in my mind. Absolutely. Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is just mind-boggling in terms of the lineage of these artists that you've run down.
So when I was with Pharoah, I used to stretch out. I used to play with no shirt on, and we used to stretch out. I mean, Pharoah was playing so much at that time, and he just let me stretch out. And the people from Atlantic Records used to come through, the Village Vanguard and Ayers, and people from Buddha Records, and they said, "We want you to leave Pharoah and come with us." I said, "I'll never leave Pharoah." That's what I said, because the gig was so spiritual and so beautiful. You know, and I had moved to New York to either play with Miles or Train. I was a little more geared to train, but I was in the Miles. I used to be over his house every day. I go over his house in the daytime, and then I go to Max Roach's house in the evening. And they met me when I was very young. I met Miles when I was 13 years old, and I was dressed like him. And he looked at me. I said, "Mr. Davis, my name is Norman Connors. I'd like to play with you." And I had some drumsticks in my hand. He fell to the floor. You know, and telling everybody, "Look at this guy! I never seen anything like this in my life." And I was just standing there. And when I was about 13, I probably looked 11. And he took to me. He said, "Whenever you come to New York, just knock on the door." And that's what I did. I moved to New York with $20 and a set of drumsticks. And I ended up in Washington Square Park. I came with some of my boys. We looked at Roy Haynes playing with Monk at the Five Spot Cafe. And my boys went back to Philly, and I stayed. I said, "I'm not going back. I'm gonna stay and take my chances." So that was it.
Boy, it's been quite a life since then, you know, and then that's all before the hits that you did in the 70s and 80s. Boy.
Okay, so I changed. The reason I changed gears, it's not that I didn't think of myself as changing gears. What a lot of people didn't know is that I had all that R&B in me anyway.
Sure, of course, yeah.
You know, I mean, I love the Temptations. I love Ray Charles. I love Stevie Wonder. You know, I loved all them cats. I loved the Jacksons. We played opposite the Jacksons on some gigs with Lionel Richie headlining.
You know, there's a real continuity about the music. It's all extended. You know, we tend to overplay the categories in a way. You know, and you could see like Pharoah shifting gears with things like Thimby and recordings like that you know was parallel to what you were doing in the 70s.
Well, you know, Michael Henderson was working with Miles. He worked with Miles for 7 years, and Toomey and Reggie Lucas and Gary Parks, and they're all my boys.
Sure,
they was my boys. No matter what kind of music, you know, no matter what was going on. And then Miles was changing, and Herbie Hancock was Watermelon Man. He was changing too.
Absolutely.
So I said, these guys are changing. Let me change into what I want to change into. So Michael wrote a few songs, and Onaji was, as a matter of fact, my first 4 albums, Herbie Hancock played on them. And I was very instrumental in getting Onaji to move to New York. And on my records, my first records, Herbie was doing a lot of arrangements, and then it shifted over to Onaji. He did the arrangement on Love from the Sun. He did the arrangement on Betcha Golly Wow. He did some real nice work with me.
Absolutely. Norman, we're in the midst of a fundraiser here at WPFW, and I was wondering if you'd say a few words why a station like WPFW is really important for an artist such as you. You know, in terms of playing all the artists that you played with, and this is what we do here at WPFW. And I was wondering if you'd say a few words why they should call 202-588-9739 and support my show tonight.
Those numbers, I think I better write that down, don't you think?
Yeah, 202-588-9739 is our number for the fundraising here, you know. And it's really remarkable because I've been doing this, I guess, as long as your musical career has been, you know, and it's been really remarkable to play all the artists that you played with and to play your music going back to the 70s, you know. And again, it's just a bit, my thing has been, you know, a blessing to be able to share your music with all these other artists. And again, I want to thank you for calling in tonight.
Okay, what's those numbers again?
202-588-9739.
5729?
588-9739.
9739.
Right. This is what we're doing tonight in the midst of our conversation and the music that we've been playing. What do you have coming up with you at Keystone Corner when Todd Barkin is bringing you up there?
After we finish that, we're going to the Norfolk Jazz Festival.
Okay.
And we had George Benson playing opposite us at one time, but George is not going to come out for a while, so we got a saxophone player that's going to play with us that everybody know.
Who's that? So
David Sanborn.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, a few people do know him. Who's going to be working with you at Keystone Corner this weekend?
I have a singer who's been working with us quite a bit. Went to Europe with us and everything. Her name is Marva King.
Okay.
And Marva King, when she first came to California, she worked with Lionel Richie. They used to do duets together and so forth. And then after that, she worked background with Stevie Wonder for a while, and then she went on the road with Prince. I think she was somewhat Prince's last vocalist.
Okay, wow. Well, great connection there also.
Yeah, so then she came with us. And I have a couple other singers, too. And I have a new Starship Orchestra. My first Starship Orchestra featured Marion Meadows on saxophone. And I had a keyboard player by the name of Jock Berwick, and a trumpet player by the name of Duke Jones, and a bass player by the name of Tony Jones. So they stayed with me for 20-something years.
Wow. So you'll be at Keystone, was it Friday through Sunday? Is that the engagement that you have there?
Yeah, we're at Keystone Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Todd Barkin's been really doing marvelous work with keeping the club going. Particularly, keeping it open and going all through with streaming and all that stuff with, the COVID thing. How have you handled COVID? What were you doing during that lockdown period?
Well, my son plays 5 instruments, and he lives in Houston, Texas, and he was graduating. I went to his graduation from high school, and at that particular time, before the COVID, we was going to get him into the new school where Reggie Workman is a big honcho there. And my son was getting a lot of awards in art. But he plays 5 instruments. He started off playing drums, and then he went into the piano, then he went into upright bass, then alto saxophone, and now he's playing trumpet.
I guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Boy, that's fantastic. I know you got to be proud.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get back into music. We're playing some of your stuff over the years, but I really want to mention that. Well, Keystone Corner in Baltimore is up at 1350 Lancaster Street, and for reservations, you can call 410-946-6726. Norman Connor's there with the Starship Orchestra through the weekend. Norman, it's been a real pleasure to talk with you and really run down the illustrious career that you've had with all of my heroes and the musicians that we play. And again, I want to urge people to call our pledge line, 202-588-9739, and help me meet my goal tonight. You're listening to Thursday Late Night Jazz. I'm Rusty Hassan, and we've been talking with Norman Connors, who's at Keystone Corner this weekend. Norman, thanks again for calling in tonight. It's been a real delight to talk with you.
Yeah, and I hope you raise a whole lot of money for the fundraiser.
This entrepreneur brand logo.
we will be doing that. I'm sure we will. It's going to be wonderful. Again, Norman Connors, Keystone Corner this weekend.